Hello world. My name is Skillow. I came up with this name when I was around 10, playing BMX touch grind on my mini iPad. I grew up in a European country, so English isn't my first language, but that didn't stop me from getting hooked on the game. When I was 9, I would always see the word skill on walls and ramps in BMX touch grind, and it just stuck with me. As a kid, I loved immersing myself in whatever I watched or played. I would often roleplay as characters from movies, shows, or games, and with BMX touch grind, I got so into it that I imagined myself as a professional BMX rider. All in my head, of course. Before playing a level, I'd even hyped myself up with a cool introduction, but one thing was missing: a name. Skill was already stuck in my head, but it didn't feel quite right on its own. So I thought about names of celebrities I admired. One that always seemed cool to me, remember, I was only 9, was Willow Smith. I loved Jaden Smith, Willow Smith, Karate Kid, Never Say Never, and Willow's music. Combining Skill with Willow felt perfect. Skill plus Willow equals Skillow. Boom. Just like that, the name was born. From then on, I'd introduce myself in my head as Skillow, the best BMX pro ever, before playing. So now that you know how I got my name, let's move on. I've got some topics I'm excited to share. Okay, my top 5 cartoon shows growing up. As a 22-year-old, I'd say my top cartoons were definitely Ed and Eddie, Ben 10, Teen Titans, Scooby-Doo, and Kim Possible, but honestly, it's hard to pick just a few because there were so many great ones when I was growing up. Shows like Goof Troop, Quack Pack, Codename, Kids Next Door, and American Dragon, Jake Long were also amazing. Looking back, I feel lucky to have grown up with a mix of modern cartoons and classics. It really felt like the last peak of great cartoon shows. Oh, I forgot to say that I really liked Max and Ruby when I was younger. Alright, now is my top 5 live-action shows growing up. Okay, so as a 22-year-old, I'd say my top live-action shows were definitely Victorious, Wizards of Waverly Place, Big Time Rush, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and That's So Raven, but honestly, it's hard to pick just a few because I spent so much time on Nickelodeon and Disney Channel. Other favorites included Life with Boys, Ned's Declassified, Zoe 101, Pair of Kings, and Crash and Bernstein. Looking back, I feel really lucky to have grown up with so many fun and memorable shows. It was such a golden era for kids' TV. My top 5 streamers right now. As a 22-year-old female, my top 5 streamers right now are in no particular order. Marlon, Stable Ronaldo, Jason Thuin, Adapt, Joe Bartolozzi. Jason Thuin. If I remember correctly, Jason was the first streamer I ever watched, or maybe it was Stable Ronaldo, I can't really remember. I first discovered him about 4 years ago from his cringy TikToks that went viral. At first, I thought he was awkward but funny. A month, or maybe more than a year, later, I stumbled upon some clips of him with Eugen, and they were so wholesome. I searched for him on Twitch, followed him, and it's been amazing to watch his growth. Back then, he averaged 1 to 2K viewers, and now he's grown so much, more confident and entertaining than ever. Stable Ronaldo. I can't remember if I started watching Ron a few weeks before or after discovering Jason, but it was around the same time, at the beginning of 2023, the so-called worst year of his career. He seemed a bit down at times, but he was always funny and entertaining. Like Jason, I first found Ron through TikTok edits featuring him and his ex. Watching him grow over the past 2 or 3 years has been incredible. Jason and Ron will always have a special place in my heart because I started watching them during a really difficult time in my life. Even now, they're just as fun to watch, if not more. Adapt. Adapt. I've loved him since around 2015, when I was 11 or 12. I wasn't the biggest COD player back then, so I didn't watch all their videos, but I loved their vlogs, especially Adapt's. From the start, he was my favorite member of FaZe, followed by Rug and Blaziken. Adapt has this chill, approachable vibe that gives me warm, nostalgic feelings whenever I think about his old videos. 10 years later, he's still just as entertaining on Twitch, if not more. You can never go wrong with an adapt stream, always good vibes. Marlon. I first heard about Marlon through FaZe. At first, I didn't have much of an opinion about him, but then I noticed he was wearing a Swedish football shirt. Since I was born and raised in Sweden, I immediately felt a connection. The first video I watched was a story time about him losing his V card. I picked it because it was long, and I wanted something to listen to while cleaning my apartment. That video taught me two things: Marlon is funny and entertaining, and he's relatable. I saw my friends and people I grew up with in him. That video made me root for him. Since then, I've watched him constantly. He's funny, stupid, sociable, relatable, and by far my most watched streamer this year. Marlon is my favorite streamer. Joe Bartolozzi. I've known about Joe through TikTok, either from his TikTok's videos he would upload from like 3 years ago or recent viral clips. About 3 weeks ago, one of his edits really stuck with me, and I started checking out his streams and YouTube videos. He does a bit of everything: chatting, reacting, gaming, and all sorts of fun segments. He's GE. Well, that's it for today's video. My plan for this channel is to talk about my thoughts, so if you want to keep hearing me talk about my thoughts and opinions, subscribe and like this video. And show support on TikTok too. Bye world, Skillow out.